Hey there, welcome back to Temple of the Holy Beard. I'm Pastor Dave. Thanks for tuning in. Good to have you here with us today. Want to read you an article today. Try to get you thinking. Like to have a little discussion about it. See what you think. Pros, cons. Would you be interested? What? I'll show you a little bit of my experiences. Anyway, this article comes from Healthline.com, titled "The 4-Day Work Week is Coming." I'll say may be coming, but I digress. Okay, imagine if we all got paid the same amount to work a fifth less. Well, 3,300 workers in the UK have been testing out this dreamy premise since June. And according to a recent survey, things are looking good. 49% of participants reported productivity has actually increased since shaving off the fifth workday, while 46% say productivity has remained the same. This backs up previous research in Japan that found the 4-day work week boosted productivity by 40%, and 86% of the 73 companies involved in the pilot said they're likely to keep the abbreviated work week in place moving forward. It will come as no surprise that cutting down working hours is proven to be good for your health. One study showed quality of life, sleep, and stress levels all improved when people went from working 40 hours a week to 30 hours. Plus, imagine how much more money the lunch restaurants are going to make by adding an entire day to the weekend. A large-scale move to the 4-day work week has been slowly gaining momentum for years. Earlier this year, a bill was introduced in the California legislature that would turn the 40-hour work week into a 32-hour work week. While the bill didn't advance, it could be amended and reintroduced in 2023. You never know. Maybe the findings from this new survey can help make that happen and pave the way for the rest of the UK to follow. The rest of the US to follow. Stay tuned. Now, reading through this is kind of interesting to me. I've been in this sort of situation where we've had to work split shift or rotating, and some people work less. Some people prefer to work 5 hours a week. I guess that's just aligns best. Like if you've got kids in school and you drop them off at school on the way to work. Well, on that one day that you're not going to work, you're still driving most of the way there to drop the kids off. You're just, free after that. So I've known people that would prefer to just continue on to work and get paid for the day rather than adjusting. Plus, this is actually talking about cutting back your hours. I guess increasing salary to make up the difference because it talks about you getting paid the same. So for you to work less hours and get paid the same, you would have to make more money. Anytime you kind of pressure for salaries to be adjusted non-organically, that ends up causing problems. Because what's going to happen is that, let's say that one person were to work this shorter week and they get their salary increased to accommodate for less hours. Well, the person next to them is going to say, I don't want to work that short, but if you're getting paid more, I want to get paid more too, which is only fair because two people doing roughly the same job, not necessarily going to get paid the same. There's skill set differences, there's experience differences and whatnot. But if you got one person working 32 hours and someone else working 40 hours, it makes sense that the 40-hour person would bring home more money because you're working more hours, at least comparatively. Now, again, if the 32-hour person is a senior person with higher level skill sets and whatnot, you may get paid more, because you're more valuable. Which is the way salaries are supposed to go. When you inorganically increase salaries to make a lower paid person feel better, it can be catastrophic to the environment, to the economy. Like anytime you talk about raising minimum wage, that's a pet peeve of mine. The minimum wage is not meant to be a living, lifelong pay salary. Over time you should be gaining skills. Even if you do the same exact job all the time, you've been doing it longer and you should be better at it in theory. More experience doesn't necessarily mean higher skills, but in theory you'll get better at your job, which would make you more valuable, which should equate to a higher salary, a higher income. A lot of companies pay very minimal yearly increases. While, if you really want a pay increase, I say find another job. But I'm getting off topic. Like I said, I like the idea of working less days and getting paid the same. But the jobs that I've worked where we were able to do that, we still had to work our 40 hours. Well, for one thing, in the U.S., most laws indicate that you're not a full-time employee unless you work over 32 hours. The idea being that the standard hours for a week is 40. That's what most companies call a full-time employee. If you work more than that, you're working overtime. If you work less than that, you're considered part-time if it's less than 32 hours. So again, by decreasing the amount of hours that you would work and still bringing home the same amount of money, they would have to increase your paychecks, which if like this is saying 49% reported productivity has increased. Well, that's half the people said productivity increased. I would say from a company standpoint, if everybody's productivity increased, if they could give everybody a day off and pay the same, but you're getting the same amount of work done. If you're doing 40 hours worth of work or more in less than those hours, then, yeah, there's an argument there. That's the same as, like I said, gaining experience. You're essentially working harder in less hours, which I imagine in this case it would be more of the panic mode, because people are looking at the clock and saying, holy cow, I'm running out of time. I have to hurry up and get this work done. Stop talking to me. I need to get this work done. And I imagine that some of these conversations, side conversations, would cut down. People would stop dilly-dallying a little bit because of that panic mode feeling of, I don't have that much time. You've got 8 less hours in the work week, so you got to hurry. And that's probably what's increasing productivity for these 49% of people. But there's other factors that come into, like I said, having, if more people were to focus, simply less conversations, stuff like that could increase productivity, which should equate to a higher salary anyway. It would be nice to work less hours, but I believe I touched on it, but most of the places that I've been that allowed a shorter work week, you work the same amount of hours, just in a shorter period of time. So instead of working 8 hours per day, it was 9 or 10 or 12, that sort of thing. So, hey, 12-hour work week is exhausting, but you could essentially work 3.5 days per week and get the same hours in. That's nice. Same thing, 10-hour days. It's exhausting for a while to get used to those extra hours, but you're still getting your 40 hours in a week. And in theory, you're getting the same amount of work done, if not more. In some cases, you work more because at the end of the day, you're still working on something. You're not as rushed to get out. Some employers won't allow you to work overtime. You got to rush to get out the door. Those 2 extra hours, you've got a little bit more flexibility to get the work done. However, the other hand, too, is that, you get tired towards the end of the day. Even an 8-hour day, you start getting tired towards the end. Imagine having to work 2 more hours. You're exhausted. So those last 2 hours, you may not be productive at all. Could be you're there 40 hours, but you may not be working 40 hours. On the other hand, it all comes down to the individual person's personality. Said I've worked in places where, we didn't have much time to get a lot of work done, and everybody just buckled down. You got it done in half the time. Well, in some places, when the work's done, you're good. So you can take it easy for the afternoon. So the morning would be really busy, hard work, and then the afternoon is people kind of dilly-dallying around. So anyway, different organizations have different work ethics, and different people have different work ethics, and whatnot. So there's a lot of variables to that. Would this work? It depends on the individual. Like I said, I think that pressuring companies to go to a shorter work week and then pay the same amount of salary, it may take a while for the economy to adjust to that. And the problem that we have, what a lot of people have, is that they compare themselves to somebody else, and you should never compare yourself to somebody else. For some reason, One reason you might be comparing yourself to a friend or a coworker, but you may be actually more skilled to them. You may be more valuable to them than them. At the same time, as much as you hate to hear it, they may be more valuable to you. So I mean, a young person that's right out of high school, looking at their first job, figuring out how much money they need to ask for, comparing themselves to a coworker that already has a couple of years of part-time experience, you're not comparable. Your zero experience compared to their 2 or 3 years of part-time, they are more valuable than you right off the bat. So they've got a head start. They're going to make more money. They should make more money right off the bat because, in theory, they're worth it because they've got experience. Of course, there's something to be said for their actual skills, but the theory is that at least you've been doing it more. Right off the bat, for an employer hiring you for that initial pay, whatever it is they're going to pay you, at least they've got something on their resume saying what they've done. So I mean, there's so much stuff we can compare all day. I'm trying not to make this a long video, but I want to hear what you're saying about this. I've rambled on a little bit. I've told you what this article says. Would you be interested in working a 4-day work week rather than 5? Would you be interested in working 32 hours per week rather than 40? What do you think? Do you think that you would be more productive? Do you think that you would be equally productive or less productive? Also think about the coworkers that you've worked with in the past. How do you think this would work on a societal aspect? Do you think that a shorter work week for equal pay, for the same pay, would be beneficial to the companies, would be beneficial to the economy, would be beneficial to the individual? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm looking forward to getting a little discussion going on that and see what you think. I see pros and cons with it. Like I said, my point of view is that it comes down to the individual. But let me know what you think. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Again, this is Pastor Dave from Temple of the Holy Beard, and I've enjoyed our time together. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and stay tuned for the next one. We got a lot of good ones coming. Again, Pastor Dave from Temple of the Holy Beard. Stay safe, stay sane, keep learning. Until next time.